It's 7:30 p.m. on June 15th. I'm going to call to order the meeting of the River Plantation Municipal Utility District Board of Directors. First item on the agenda is to receive the comments from the public. That's it? Oh, I got the sheet.
Could you bring that sheet up when you're done?
Yeah, I haven't signed in.
Oh, you haven't signed in either?
I wasn't sure if
Yeah, we just, the law requires us to keep
Yeah.
a record of it. You're welcome, sir. I'll take it for you. Thank you.
Is it?
Yes, thank you.
Is there anybody on the meeting at time?
Yes, a few yes.
Okay. Okay, D. Judge.
Yeah, I'll just keep this short. Dee Dee sent the PDFs of the minutes to all of you, and I'm sure you probably read them. And so I would like to have Plan 3 on the agenda for next month, so we can discuss it. So when you go through all that, do kind of a chronology. The documents are in there, and it really gives you a heck of a lot of information. So if you could do that, that'd be great.
Okay.
All right,
That it?
that's it.
All right. Carl Busby. You want to speak?
No.
No? Okay.
Thanks
Thought
for
that was a,
asking.
yes, sorry. Okay. Chad Morgan. You want to
We'll
wait
do
until?
that on the
Yeah.
action
Okay.
item, yes.
Okay. Jose Garcia.
Same,
You want to
same.
wait until?
Same thing.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. John Earl?
Yes, stop the Morgan case.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. All right. And I've got a couple that don't say anything. David?
On the Chad Morgan case as well.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Robert King? Okay. Jerry Friedman?
Right here.
Same thing?
Mhm.
Okay.
Unless I have to.
Okay, no, you don't have
You don't
to,
have
it's all
to.
voluntary.
Certainly don't
Yeah.
have to.
So, okay, number 2, public hearing for violation of district rules and damage to property, assessment of penalties.
Okay, I would say that you're calling that public hearing at 7:33 p.m.?
Yeah.
Okay, so what we'll do is, we have a public hearing tonight. There's 2 groups that are the subject of it. It's Mr. Morgan, it's his property, 472 Old Hickory, and then Mr. Garcia, who's the contractor. And just so we're all familiar with what's going on here, I won't say too much. This isn't like municipal court or something. We're not trying to prosecute somebody. We live in a community. It has rules, violations of those rules under the water code are subject to the assessment of a civil penalty by the governing board, which is this district. We had an incident that it's an extended, but I'll describe it as one incident, but it's over many days of some illegal use and I'll call it damaging of the Charleston Park. That's why we're here tonight. So the way I think that this would go, we've done several of these in the past. Unfortunately, hopefully we won't have to continue to do these. But what I'll do is I'll just tell you what I know, tell a little bit about the facts. Again, I'm just here to help move the process along. The board makes its decision tonight. I'll show you some photos, make sure that all the board members know fully about the situation, and then Mr. and Mrs. Morgan are here. They're the owners of the subject property, and they're going to tell you whatever they want to tell you. I think they have a lot to say. I've met with them. I think they're very nice people. I don't have it. We've had other people come here yelling at people, you know. I just want to be clear and say that's not been my experience. I think everything's been very professional and amicable, and I've enjoyed talking with them, to be honest. And then Mr. Garcia, I was able to finally track down, and we had a very cordial conversation as well. So I think tonight will go fine. And then you'll hear evidence from them. I think some have brought some of their neighbors and friends that may also want to speak, and you can hear that. And then a decision has to be made. I mean, it doesn't have to be made tonight, but most likely what you'll want to do is make a decision tonight, and we have an opportunity for the board to go into executive session where they will deliberate what they think should happen. and they'll do that outside of the presence of everyone else in this room, and then you'll come back into open session and deliver whatever ruling you'd like to make. Does that all make sense? Okay, so I'm going to set the stage. I've logged into the meeting even though I'm here because I'm going to attempt to share my screen so y'all can see some photographs. So let me see if I can get this to work. Sharing is paused. Here we go. Okay, so we're going to, let me see if I can make this one a little bit bigger. All right, so just kind of a little bit of background information. I know Julie and Tim have been in the field. So we had an incident where some of the board members became aware of the use of Charleston Park for what turned out to be a renovation project of the backyard of 472 Old Hickory. There was some efforts to contact the owner. The constable's office was called. I will say, I want to try to describe this to my knowledge fairly, and Julie and Tim, y'all were there, so you're allowed to talk, say what you know as well. But I'm just going to set the stage, and I think the board members can talk. You can either go before or after, however the board would like to conduct it. But I think that my understanding of the first interaction, it was less than satisfactory. I was able to then get a hold of Mr. Morgan. I think it became a lot clearer what was going on. There has been a lack of enforcement in the past by the prior owner, by the constable's office. I think there was some confusion about whether there are rules. I don't think there should be, personally. You had a public hearing and adopted park rules on 2 different occasions. They're posted all throughout the community. I don't believe there should be confusion. I think it is common sense to think you can't go through a property like that. But there was some apparent confusion. Once the property owner learned that you shouldn't be back there, I will say the work stopped. And again, all of our interactions were very, very cordial, very professional. I have nothing negative to say about it, and I appreciate that. And I think I've been professional as well. The issue was that this is a major landscaping renovation, and the contractor was using Charleston Park, I think, for upwards of about 2 weeks before it was noticed. I'll let the board judge from the photos the extent of the damage. I think a sizable park area of the park was used and did receive damage. I can report that we went out there and I didn't see that, I don't think any trees have been removed like in the other scenario we had, which is at least a bonus. But there was a large area, and a large area of it driven across multiple times to the extent that it wore eroded basically into the park. The good news was, once we were able to get all on the same page, Mr. Morgan took quick action and had his contractor, who is Mr. Garcia, remove the equipment and reformulate a plan to finish the work, what I'll say legally, by not using the park. Where things really go awry, and I think this is the part that really got us here tonight, is 3 days later, I think it was discovered that Mr. Garcia was using the park again. And I think all of us can agree that was a very unfortunate occurrence, and kind of has shown that maybe there's a little more than meets the eye here, because it was very clear the equipment was removed, and then 3 days later it was back. I will tell you, and I believe everything Morgans have told me, they were not there when Mr. Garcia brought his equipment back out there. I don't know enough to tell you how that got there. I hope we discover some of that tonight. But the real unfortunate part was that there was a reoccurrence of the use of the park after the property owner had been informed of the rules and the laws and not to do it, and the equipment had been removed, which I really think kind of unfortunately took us in a direction that was very unfortunate, to tell you the truth. So that use again was caught, for lack of a better word. Everything was removed again, and since then, it's my understanding there's been no activity on the park. Let me show a few photos, and then board, if y'all want to say what you think, and we can have a back and forth too. It doesn't have to be statements and stuff, but I think both, we had some board members in the field when it was happening. I think it would be important for the video, for the citizens to hear your perspective, and then Mr. and Mrs. Morgan, anything y'all want to say, and again, just tell them what happened, tell them what you want everyone to take into account. But I'm going to show you, I've got a bunch of photos here, but I'm just going to show a few. Let me see if I can get them to pop up. Y'all seeing that, or is that a different window now? Okay, so let me stop my sharing. Let me reshare this photo. Go back over here. Sorry, it's slightly tedious. I have it on an iPad, which is a lot faster. But this is most of what you see there. I'm going to approach the screen. I like this. I don't like anything I see in these photos, but I like this photo as a demonstrative for us, because This is the property line. So you can see there's a white PVC marker put on top of the property line marker.
Can I clarify?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, not that it's a big deal, but that's an old out of bounds stake from the golf course. And my property pin is maybe 3 inches directly east of that.
Yeah, so
it's right in front.
Yeah, proximate to the
Yeah.
property line, right? So we can agree that everything in the foreground here is on the park. And so I don't think, it's not lawful to use the park at all with motor vehicles for improvement projects to adjoining property. But the scope of what you see here is really why I think we're here tonight. You can see the treads from the equipment. It is a very large area that was cleared. I do want to be clear, those trees are not from the park, but they were stored on the park, as was actual equipment and other materials. And again, I don't think we would even be here tonight if it was a situation of some materials being, that would have been an educational process, everything would have been removed, but this is really very serious, in my opinion. And I'll show you a few more, and I have a bunch I can flip through real quick on an iPad, but I'll put these up here for everyone who's not here to see. Let me find a few more that are good. So, I'm going to show you. So what you're seeing here should pop up right in a second. I don't know what that is. That is not from my computer. That's on that computer.
Oh, okay.
Okay, there we go. Almost there. There we go.
Maybe just minimize it, maybe. Yeah, move it down to the corner or something.
Really so.
Let me stop doing the screen share, maybe that won't. I don't know why that is popping up. End process, how about that?
There you go.
Let's see if that'll do it. If not, I'll just show from my computer screen.
I was gonna try to click on that other screen, see if it would just come up.
It's down at the bottom.
Oh, wait, there you go.
Yeah,
Okay.
there we go. All right, perfect. Sorry about that, everybody.
Yeah, it's just screaming really slow.
That's okay. We're gonna get there. All right, so again, there are many, many photographs. This is essentially the road, or I'll call it a path, that was worn into the Charleston Park from the use of the property. And it runs for a very long distance, you can see that. And to there's a turnaround, one or at least one, maybe two turnaround areas that were being used. And so, that's not what's supposed to be done to a park. It's not what a park is supposed to look like. We have many, many photos of this nature. And happy to show as many as y'all would like to see, but I don't think we need to show a whole lot. Let me see if I can find one or two more that might be worth showing to the group. Show this one and maybe just one more. So this one again this is on Charleston Park. It'll take a second. But most of what you see there is on the park. There's some cleared areas, some obviously disturbed areas. You can see where the equipment was going back and forth and just using that as a turnaround area. That's not what you do on a public park. And let me see, that might be here. Let me do this last one here. So let me see if I can find one more of the road for y'all. I'll show this one. There's just too many to show, but one last one, just kind of a perspective of the road area that had been used. takes just a second to load. So it is, you know, there's the house area in the background there. You can see the area that has been disturbed and cleared and is being used. And it's a sizable area that the vehicles were using, and you can tell it happened a lot. Everything's dead there, worn down to the ground. So, and that goes on for a very, very, very long time. So, that's really all I have to say. Those are, what I'm here to do is just kind of help facilitate. Those are kind of the facts. Again, this use was not authorized. We were eventually able to educate, obtain compliance, and then unfortunately there was a reoccurrence a few days later, and so that's now we're here. So, Julie, if the board president, do you have anything y'all would like to say or talk about next?
The only thing I'd like to say is, basically, we were okay Wednesday night. Everything was good Wednesday night. When you got the equipment off, everything was good. Then Saturday, when I got a call that you guys were back out there. And then, not only that, but did they not stop when we called the constable? When I got back in my car, the constable left, they continued driving the skid steer on Charleston. I have pictures. That's when I went down there again. Was when your guys kept driving back out across Charleston, across the park, on the skid steer. I didn't get out of my car and go down there again for the fun of it.
Across Charleston?
The park. That's called Charleston Park.
The big green space is
That green space is Charleston Park.
My question is, all this project was for you're building a fence? Is that what your project was?
Yes, so just to touch on the project. So the project started as a little renovation to the backyard. I wanted to build a fence. My yard is was currently basically bordered with shrubs, plants and shrubs that had kind of overtaken the property lines. So I brought a surveyor out. I brought Jose out to get rocking and rolling. The surveyor came out and we figured the shrubs they were invading the property line too much that we basically, at that point, we decided that the shrubs had to go. There was
Those
no,
are your shrubs?
yes,
Okay.
correct. There was no way to build a fence around the shrubs. The trimming would have been total, to be able to build a fence. And so briefly, right after we started the project, we basically reassessed and the project morphed and it grew exponentially. Because all the shrubs had to come out. That was the decision that was made. We found a dead tree when we started clearing shrubs and stuff. I had a dead tree back there. Then we started talking about 2 trees that were kissing my gas meter, which I only see as a future problem. I've been wanting to take care of them for a while. And yeah, those trees are gonna go. Well, I'm gonna take the last pine tree in the backyard down, and there were 2 other I call trash trees. They weren't an oak, they weren't a pine. They were a weed that turned into a tree over the years. And so we decided to do that, completely restack the rock around the flower beds. I mean, it basically, briefly, right after we started, it basically turned into a total makeover, scrape down the dirt, start over. That was the right thing to do. We decided then to go and replace the entire irrigation system. I was going to invest that kind of money. I needed a good, reliable irrigation system. So when we started, we thought it was going to be a day or 2 long project. Not the fence, but for Jose's portion of it, and leave it ready for me to build a fence. And then it quickly grew into a project that obviously took a lot more time than that. So, yeah, and I guess if I could, I'll just kind of back up and maybe introduce myself a little bit and my family and kind of tell you, who we are, what we're about. My name's Chad Morgan. This is my wife, Diane Morgan. We have 3 kids. We've lived in River Plantation for 10 years. 10 years. It's going to be 10 years in November. We moved there because that's what we consider home. I grew up in the same house my entire life. When we moved out on our own, it was like, where's home? Well, River Plantation was it. I grew up here playing golf. I grew up here in the junior golf program. I had friends in the neighborhood. My dad lives in the neighborhood. My dad's name's Ronnie Morgan. He lives in the neighborhood as well. He couldn't be here tonight. Yeah, so it just made sense for us to move to River Plantation. We've been happy here since.
So you've been here 10 years. Were you here when it was a golf course?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So had it still been a golf course, what would you have done back there? Would you not have been able to go on the golf course with the skid steers, right?
Correct.
And
Yeah.
you knew it as a golf course, that's what it was supposed to be.
Right.
And then when we took possession of it, we made it a park, it was still a private property. The golf, the country club had it as a private property, and then when it was turned over to us, it was a private property for the MUD. So, you know, I just wondered why, after that, when you saw it as had it still been a golf course, what would you have chosen to do then?
But to be, you know, completely honest with you, at the time it was a golf course, I can't say that I would have done this, but I knew the owner of the golf course, and I wouldn't have hesitated to call him like, hey, can I drive down the rough? Now, obviously, I wouldn't have got away with trucks and trailers and all that, but 10 years ago, the yard was in much better condition than it was 2 weeks ago.
But yeah, had it been a golf course still, the
Yeah.
ruts that are left, all that
Yeah.
clearing, you know, he would have been all over you.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
it's- It is still private property,
Yeah.
so.
But yeah, so that's, you know, who we are. You know, we're not the, obviously the photos look really bad. And I know ignorance isn't a good excuse for breaking the laws and breaking the rules. That's what happened. There was a lot of things leading up to this to lead me to believe that it wasn't gonna be a big deal. You know, it's frequently that we see trucks and trailers back there for landscapers, utility workers. Tachus was just back there.
Well, we can't stop utility companies, I'll just tell you
I
that.
understand. I've seen tree guys back there, cutting down trees in neighbors' yards. I've seen landscapers back there working in neighbors' yards.
Well,
So-
please call us.
Yeah, I would say
No.
that, and I just
Yeah.
want to say, since this is recorded, it's okay for the utility companies if they're within their easements. See,
Right,
that's the
correct.
confusion, that we can stop them if they're outside of their easement,
Right.
or doing something not authorized by their easement, or
Right.
damaging some of the district facilities,
Correct.
but yeah, that,
Yeah.
and that's something you and I haven't talked about, there are utility easements.
Right, right.
And so, you know, you might see the power company driving down with a
Right.
cherry picker.
Like
through
Entergy was out there
Yes,
Sunday.
Exactly, and
Driving
that's a
across our
lawful
new
use.
sidewalk.
Yes, that's correct, that's a preeminent lawful use.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I honestly, I just didn't think that, number one, I didn't think it was that big of a deal. Number one, when we started, I did not expect the project to grow into the size of the project that it became. You know, I've seen people back there. I had a tree guy back there in my backyard not long ago. He used the golf course for access with trucks and trailers and equipment. And I asked him before he started, you know, hey, do we need to get permission? He said, Chad, I've cut down many trees from neighbors' backyards using the park. And he told me, you know, I used to call and ask, and I basically got the impression that they did not care. He's like, so I haven't called and asked in probably the last, 10 or 12 yards I've been back here working. He said, don't worry about it. I said, okay. So that
That's your
happened.
ideas. What we need to do.
So that happened, and so that, all those kind of instances led me to believe like, hey, it's not that big of a deal. If I get caught, I'm probably gonna get a warning, and we'll stop and we'll reassess. And like I said, the project grew much larger, and that's probably what has led us to be in this room to begin with. If it would have stayed a small project, we probably would have been in and out with nobody maybe
Nobody
even
would have
noticed
seen
we
you.
were back there.
That's right.
Um,
And I think in the case of the tree guys, where you say you've seen a lot of tree guys back there, they might be out there for 3 or 4 hours. They come in on a truck, they bring it out on a
Right.
truck. It's not skid steers and bulldozers and, clearing all the land and scuffing
And
it
it's
up.
not like they can pick up the tree trunks and carry them out to the street. Those tree
Correct.
trunks weigh a ton.
Correct.
Well,
And
we are
so-
gonna educate, we are still, we've done, you guys heard all that, we published the rules, had hearings. We're still educating all the time, and that, we appreciate you bringing that to our attention. The other thing I will say is, some of the tree trimmers may be doing utility tree trimming.
Correct.
And that is another use that is allowed by the easements. They actually have a lawful obligation to keep the easement areas cleared so the trees don't swing into the power lines.
Right.
So some of those are actually proper uses.
Yeah.
So what happened after Wednesday, when apparently would you agree there was an agreement that you weren't gonna do it anymore?
Absolutely.
So
I
what
think I
happened
made
after-
that clear
what
by
happened
my
after-
actions.
But then after that, they did come back?
Yes.
So what happened
So-
from your side?
From my side?
Yeah.
Okay, so obviously, y'all got involved Tuesday, the 7th.
Yep.
I spoke with Paul Wednesday morning. We had a good conversation. I made it clear that some of the stuff that we had on RPMUD property was going to have to exit using RPMUD property. We got the approval to do so, and Jose showed up. He changed his whole plan up for the day. And I have before and after photos. I don't know if you'll want to see, but yeah, by 6 p.m.
No, I saw him driving out at
Wednesday
5:30 when I was
afternoon,
coming in.
you know, we had ran rakes to clean up all the organic
I do think you
debris.
should show a few of the before and after, I think would help.
I drove out there and I saw the
Okay.
rakes where you
Yeah,
raked. I
there was
drove out there
definitely,
myself.
at least as of Wednesday, there was a very positive response.
Correct.
I totally agree.
Yeah, I've seen it
Um,
since.
So from my side, I mean, obviously I was not home when Jose showed up on Saturday. I guess as soon as the interaction was over, he sent me a message and said, hey, call me, we have a problem, we need to talk. So I called him, he explained to me what happened. In his words, I mean, obviously, I think y'all were on my street quite a bit that day, y'all saw.
Actually, I wasn't even here. So
Okay, well, I
somebody
saw-
was driving
I saw
in and saw
several-
him driving
there
on
were-
it, and then they called me.
There were 2 or 3 cars that were scouting, watching, supervising, monitoring.
Only after
whatever we
the,
wanna
only
call it.
after the interaction
Correct,
happened.
after. But yeah, so Jose had 2 trucks, 2 gooseneck trailers, and a dump truck. And so he called me and said, man, we had the street blocked up. They had just finished the job that
Oh, I
day.
didn't pay attention to the street.
And they had the street blocked up, and he decided to tell one of his guys to take the second truck and trailer back to the yard, meaning his yard, his shop, which I believe is in Willis. And his worker misunderstood, you know, and that might be, he misunderstood, and when he was told to take it around back, he literally drove it around to the back of my home. And that might be a hard story to believe, but obviously, I took the situation very serious. We cleared it off. Jose knew it was a serious situation. He already knew what I was potentially up against, because I already knew I was coming here to meet with y'all. You know, so we already knew what kind of trouble I could be in. And, you know, I've been working with Jose long enough. I chose him because he did 2 of my neighbors' yards on the street, and they're by far the nicest yards on the street. No questions about it. And that's why I chose him. And I have some evidence to maybe show y'all to make the story a little bit more believable, but
I think you should do
I can
whatever
start
you
by
want.
showing,
Whatever you
I can
want.
start by showing photos of kind of what the yard looked like on that Saturday.
And if, just to be clear, what he's telling you about why the truck and trailer were brought back out on Saturday was told to him by Mr. Garcia. So we'll hear from Mr. Garcia too. I mean, obviously, you don't know whether that's what happened or not, you're just going
Correct.
off what he told you. I
Correct.
just want to make sure you understand.
Yeah, so let me just show some photos of, so here's a photo of what my yard looked like. This was Wednesday afternoon when we had RPMUD land cleared. And I had all of my belongings back on my side of the property line. That's what it looked like there. Let's get to what it looks like over the weekend. We're gonna get there eventually. Here's another picture, kind of from the same angle. As you can see, the old swing set is gone, the excavator is gone, the pile of debris is gone, the trees were cleared that Wednesday. Here's a picture of my backyard now. There was absolutely no reason for Jose to have that truck and trailer back there. There was absolutely no reason for him to unload a dingo, a walk-behind skid steer that is narrow enough to fit between my house and my neighbor's property on either side of my property line. They're here. So just to kind of back up his story here. Oh, there we go, we're getting closer. Okay, so here are some tracks from the machine that he has at my house, and they're still at my house today. They fit well between my home and the property line. The machine's, how wide is it, Jose? 30 inches? 36 inches.
So why didn't he go between your property line or your neighbor's property line?
That's what I'm saying. I'm hoping that this will help us support the story where it was honestly a misunderstanding. It was maybe a breakdown in communication between Jose and his employee.
I
It
mean,
was
with all of that work, or was this, are you talking about after Wednesday?
after Wednesday. Yeah, so there was, I really haven't done much work in the backyard since Wednesday because I got a letter from my HOA to cease and desist all work in my backyard. That
We didn't have anything to do with that.
Well, the letter was sent, it was unwarranted. And I've talked to them and they agreed that it was unwarranted. I have pre-approval to do landscaping work as long as I'm not doing any permanent structure. So the letter was sent unwarranted, but really since that day, I've moved him to the front. The focus has really been the front yard. He's done some raking and some cleaning in the backyard, hauled off some more debris, old irrigation lines, stuff like that, but there was absolutely no reason for him to have a piece of equipment back there.
Well, they were working on it pretty good when I was there. I have pictures.
Do you agree
I
that that's the
didn't-
piece of equipment that was back there on Saturday?
I don't know, I don't see a piece of equipment.
I didn't
in
take a
these
picture
pictures.
of-
Do you
the
have
tractor.
pictures of the equipment from Saturday? Can we see those two just while you're talking?
Yeah, and I had to call Jose as well. I think we spoke actually Sunday because I walked the RPMUD area too. And that's when I noticed that that piece of equipment was unloaded back there. And I was like, hey, that thing got unloaded back here. You know why? And he was like, I told you, and he took ownership for it for not giving clear instructions. But there's absolutely no reason. The rock from my backyard was already back there.
Yeah.
There was nothing for the equipment to move around back there.
That's Saturday.
So, like I said, hopefully,
That's Saturday afternoon.
I mean, it's hard to say where that's sitting, but
But is that the piece of
Well, I
equipment
mean,
you were
that's,
describing?
yeah, so
Yeah.
where it's sitting doesn't matter because as I sat there, after we had told them, okay,
yeah.
they would drive it into the yard, drive it back out onto Charleston, drive it into the yard, drive it back out on Charleston. That's why I went back down there.
Like I said, I haven't had a chance to speak. I know my story's not believable. The only reason we're here is probably because of the Saturday incident.
That's correct, because as of Wednesday, it would have been fine.
Chad, like I told Chad, I had no need. When I showed up with my guys, we all showed up with 2 trucks and 2 trailers. I said, take this one back. I already had, the machine that went to the back, the one that you haven't, I had one identical in the front yard. I didn't need 2 machines. I just sent that truck and trailer back to the yard, and and I told you, and I know
But
my
you told me
apologies.
you sent the truck and the trailer back. You didn't tell me it was loaded with a piece of equipment, and he unloaded the piece of equipment.
That's when I told you, that was my mistake. I had, that machine that you had, I had an identical one in the front yard already. It just happens to be red.
So your guy made a mistake?
One's red, one's
Your
white.
guy made a mistake?
Why did he unload the second piece of equipment if you already had one there?
Because of the mistake, I told him, take it back to the yard, I had the same identical machine in the front yard. I have 2, which I left them there now because, it happened, so I said, well, but I did not need.
So there's
I
2
didn't-
identical pieces of equipment in your front yard right now?
One's red, one's white.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, Mr. Garcia, I've got a question for you.
Yes, sir.
When you came walking up that long sidewalk
Yes,
the first time,
yes,
when we had stopped that truck,
yes.
the first thing out of your mouth was, I forgot. You remember saying that?
I said I forgot to tell him, not
Mhm.
here. I told him while I went to look at the job in the front on the other street, and when I came back, he had shown up through the back. I told him I forgot to tell him, not this backyard. Like I said, I literally have the same machine in the front yard. I didn't need access, and I didn't need a second machine. Everything was out on Saturday, well, it was out on Tuesday. And
Wednesday.
after that, or Wednesday, I took, immediate action to what we needed to do. And I was not going to, of course, go back there again. So the only reason I sent that truck back is we literally had, like 2 driveways almost blocked, and someone was gonna call for that too, because we had 2 trucks, trailers and dump truck in the front lined up all along neighbors. So I told them, you know, send that one back.
So this guy that you're sending back, he works for you?
He works for
So
me.
you're taking
Oh,
responsibility for his
I
actions?
have
Do you mind telling us his name?
Pedro what? Pedro Martinez. But you know, I like I said, I have to take, I didn't give maybe full or clear instructions, but I had no need or did not need access to the backyard at the time. It was the small, you know, I already had 2 of everything there, so that's when I sent one back. And when I knew, he showed up walking to the front yard. I said, well, where's the truck? And where's the truck? So that's when it wasn't back there no more than, what, 15 minutes? 20
I
minutes?
don't know, I didn't
Yeah.
get there till after he was gone,
You know,
till after he was out on the
that's
street.
about how long it took me to walk, you know, to drive across the other street and look at the other job. And when I came back, and I see him there, I said, well, where's the truck? Well, it's back here. That's when you know, like I told you, I have to take full responsibility of what I did, of not giving clear instructions, but it was not to, you know, we did keep working in the backyard, but I don't know if the clear picture shows that the park was not used for, it was used to unload,
Yeah.
because he obviously unloaded it,
I can verify,
but to work,
I can verify, I'm a hunter, I know how to track things, I'm also a very good investigator. I went back there, I saw where the equipment was unloaded, I saw where the ramps went down off the trailer, I saw where the equipment backed down the ramps, it turned nearly 90 degrees towards my house, and I followed the tracks straight up into my yard. And from there, the only tracks that you could see that day, I would assume, I wasn't there that day, but I would assume you did a little bit of grading back there, because there was some debris and some dirt piled up. He did some grading of the dirt. Like I said, if I could just reiterate, he already had that equipment there. He had a grapple bucket and a grate bucket, I guess you would call it, a regular bucket for scooping dirt, was already there. The rocks were already in my backyard. The trees were gone, the shrubs were gone. 98% of all the debris and stuff that was hauled off is gone. There literally was no reason to be back there, especially when the piece of equipment could have went down the north side or the south side on a property line. There just wasn't, and I think with that evidence or that statement, and in addition to our reaction to how we handled, addressing the situation on Wednesday, I would hope that that's a believable story. I mean, that's all I can say about that. It looks really bad, it looks like we got caught, we did what we were asked, we waited a few days to let the heat.
That's
back
exactly
down.
what it looks
And
like.
we said,
That's exactly what it looks
let's
like.
get back to work,
That's right,
what it looks
don't
like.
forget about it,
That's
it's
what-
been 3 days. Don't forget
Well, I
about
didn't
it.
forget about it, I knew I had to be, at that time, I already knew I had to be here tonight.
But
So,
in
that's
my
true.
opinion, it could have been much, much worse had we not caught it, and he would have continued going back and forth and
Yeah.
torn it up a lot more.
I think.
Especially with
I
the
think-
storm we had Saturday night, if they
I
had
would
come
bet,
back
I
Sunday.
bet big
it
money
would've
we'd be in a much better situation if y'all had not caught him on Saturday. The truck would have left. The truck would have left, it would not have came back. We probably would have made more progress on the yard
Yeah.
between now and then and now. We would be in a
And I
much
will
better
tell you,
spot.
nobody was staking out your house until after that happened.
I
And the
believe
only
that.
reason
I
I
believe
was
that.
staking it out was because I knew it had to leave. If it went there that way, it had to leave that way.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
it did. And both of those equipment are in my front yard. I've shown the tracks of where it has been making passes up and down my yard.
So,
So-
to reiterate, just because there's just a few things that stand out in my mind, and one of them is what was said to Tim, one of our directors. Your kind of exclamation of "I forgot" was your way of saying I forgot to tell him enough detail for him to know where I was asking him to take it.
and like, when I showed up, I said, I just forgot to tell him exactly what, I guess which backyard. And, we wouldn't be here if it weren't for that incident. Now, there was a couple things, like I said, that happened. I went to look at a job behind the street. Maybe if I hadn't gone to look, when I sent him back, if I hadn't gone to look at that job, I would have probably seen him driving and it probably immediately stopped.
Yes,
We
I
had
understand
nothing,
that,
we had nothing to do. Not only that, but like I said, we had the same identical machine already there for 2 or 3 days prior to, because when we were told to take the excavator and the Bobcat out, I brought the smaller one in.
Do you know why he would have unloaded? I'm not trying to lawyer you here at all. I'm just
Right.
trying to get the facts out so the board doesn't have questions. Do you know why he would have unloaded the second piece of equipment if you already had one there?
Our guys are just always working, you know, they're not, you know, I won't send a machine back there to stay in the back of the truck.
Okay, so he understood
Yeah.
back, means take it
Yeah,
back
just,
there, take
you
it
know,
off.
they're not, in his mind, it's not, we're not gonna send a truck and trailer with a machine to the back to keep the machine on top of the trailer.
And
So,
Pedro's not here tonight. Did you ask him if this is, have you talked to him about this?
oh, yeah.
And is this what he says? I misunderstood you. I thought you meant.
Well, he didn't misunderstand. No, it wasn't Pedro's fault, it was my.
Okay, but does he agree there was a miscommunication? I mean, like, if we talk, I'm just saying, like, if we talk to Pedro, is he gonna agree with everything you're saying here? Like, is this gonna be consistent?
Oh, yeah, because like I said, I wasn't clear to him. It's not like he didn't
Yeah,
understand.
no, I'm not trying to blame Pedro. I'm not
Right.
trying to blame him. What I mean is he'll agree with this description that you're.
Definitely. And, like I said, there comes a time when you know, when you made a mistake, you just have to be upfront and admit it, and if whatever I have to. But it wasn't, you know, meant for me to go over Mr. Chad and say, well, I'm gonna do it a second time. No, I didn't, I would not do that. But like he said, it just looks bad that 3 days we cleaned up everything and 3 days later we're at the same spot. It does look bad on us, but you know, mistakes are made, especially in the construction field. We're working in 100-degree weather out there, and I did not explain it right. He needed to take that thing, because we had the same thing times 2. You know, 2 trucks and trailers, 2 of those little machines, because I brought the little one whenever we were told to take out the existing bigger equipment, which was the Bobcat and
Yeah,
the
yeah.
mini excavator. We took that out, so I brought a smaller one in. It was right there at the
That
front
would
yard.
fit between the houses, right? Is that, yeah. Julie, I just want to ask this too, because I don't want us to have any lingering things that might cause a decision that's not supportable of whatever y'all decide to do. I think you said after the piece of equipment had been dropped off improperly in the back, we'll call it by accident, I'll call it by accident, y'all may not agree with that, I'm not saying I agree with that, but I'll use that word, that you saw it being used.
Correct.
And the park was being used.
Correct.
Okay, so will you, let's get to the bottom of that while we're on.
Okay, so as I was sitting there waiting, because I knew the equipment had to, if it went down that way, it had to come back out that
Yeah.
way, okay? So as I was sitting there, I was watching the guys driving or pushing or whatever they're doing with the skid steer out into Charleston, back into the yard, out into Charleston, back in the yard. And when I went down there, you even said, if I had had a lawnmower and was doing this, you would not find anything wrong with that. You went 40 feet by my steps, I'm gonna estimate 40 feet, by my steps, past the property line.
Do you remember saying that?
Well,
About the lawnmower?
because she said we did damage to it. I said, we leveled it to where if I had a lawnmower, I can, you know, it would be mowed. I wasn't gonna leave no ruts or anything. I made it to where, you know, we literally raked it. So when the grass grows, if I had a lawnmower, I could mow it, fine. Now, if I left some ruts or anything.
But that wasn't what you said. That wasn't what you said. What you said, if I had a lawnmower and I was going out in the park, it wouldn't be a big deal. But you didn't have a lawnmower, you had a skid steer, is what I tried to tell you.
Well, like I said, again, maybe I have not so clear ways of expressing or getting my point across, but I made it to where it would be mowable again. For someone to mow it, I was not gonna leave.
So is that
so
what,
you-
okay, yeah,
I said.
So you think going 40 feet past the property line is no big deal?
Smooth it out. You did that to smooth it out.
Yes, sir.
on Saturday?
No,
We did that Tuesday.
It is on Saturday.
We did it
No.
Tuesday.
No.
I don't know what they were doing Saturday.
Goes out
We did it on
another
Tuesday.
Oh, so you were
10 feet
talking about on
past the
Tuesday
property
as
line.
well?
I was talking about, well, I don't know, but that's what he said Saturday.
On Tuesday.
That's what he said to
On
me
Tuesday,
Saturday.
We were driving
Did
because
you
I
see
had to
them
go,
go
I had to
Yes.
get
on
everything out.
Saturday?
On Saturday,
You did?
yes,
Okay.
You saw, but hold on, you saw him driving in and out onto the park on Saturday?
yes.
On Saturday.
Okay.
So was that the skid steer that was unloaded that day?
It was the white one.
It might have seen from the distance where she was.
I didn't see it being unloaded. I saw him when he got to the street. He
It
was already
it
stopped when I got there.
I did no raking on on Saturday when that machine was.
I didn't say you did. He was, whoever one of the guys
They
was,
were grading, using the
was
equipment
doing
to
some,
grade.
yeah, whatever they were doing. They
That
were
did-
driving
that did-
back and forth from the yard to the park, to the yard to the park.
When you say were you like by our yard or like a golf cart? I'm just curious.
No, I was parked down at the end, down at the, on the street on Shiloh.
I was just trying to clarify.
So, but you're
I had a
saying,
good shot. I could see him.
you're saying, on Saturday, the little equipment was not going back and forth, or was it? Which one was it?
It was, but it was on his yard. She was 500 feet away.
Okay, so
at
you're,
least
I
500.
just wanted to, I wanted to all be clear what we're
She
saying.
is seeing that it's on the park. 500 feet away, it's literally on his, we were working, once the machine got unloaded, we were working in his
So you're telling me
backyard.
I couldn't see the tree that was the property line by that thing and know that when he went past that tree, he was on the
That
park?
machine would have left tracks. It would have left tracks.
I'll vouch for him, there was.
It would have
no
left tracks. I did no raking on Saturday.
That's the property line?
I'll vouch for him,
I did no
I'm a
raking.
good investigator. I
I
knew on Saturday that there was a piece of his story missing, because I followed the tracks. I know exactly where we had been on RPMUD property, and I followed them straight onto our property line. And, I mean, we can go out there today, I haven't been out there and raked to cover tracks, I know he hasn't raked to cover tracks. It may have appeared that way from your angle and from the distance, but not 40 feet, we're in the old fairway.
Mhm.
The machine.
And that area was already graded smooth, he had hand raked it, I came back after him and hand raked it to my satisfaction, Wednesday afternoon, June 8th.
So the machine that was working in the back on Saturday, was this the one that was mistakenly sent to the back?
Yes, sir. But
So it did work back there, so it was unloaded and it worked for a while?
Yes.
well, yeah, after it was unloaded,
As I understood it before, when you were saying that it was a mistake and you told them to put it back up and leave, no?
They
No,
drove
we
the
didn't
truck
need-
and
we didn't
trailer
need to-
out empty.
we didn't need to load it back up and leave, because all I needed, I could just take, we were already in a hot water scene here, we're not gonna drive out, we were already off of there. We had
Your
the
trailer was off of
machine,
there.
we had the machine
But
at the back.
The trailer's
Now-
empty.
The skid
Now
steer
the-
was still there.
Correct.
The
So
skid
now
steer
you
was
have
still
three
there.
skid steers there.
Two. That's why I sent one back. Because I
They
had to
didn't
send my
reload
dad.
it. They didn't reload it.
Yeah.
They just
They didn't
took it.
reload it.
Yeah.
No, the truck and trailer left empty.
And
So
that
you-
made a total of 2 or 3 on Saturday that you had there. Skids.
Here's
Just
two, the
two.
one I made a mistake in,
One and
but
the other
these are identical machines.
Yeah.
These are identical, I don't need one in the front yard and one in the back. This is just, like I said, that's why I sent one back to the yard. And I went to, look at another job on the other street down from Vic, or else I would have seen them drive in.
I was just trying to follow the details.
So this time was like, the truck and trailer were back there maybe 15, 20 minutes. It didn't take me, so when I got back and I seen Pedro, like, well, so where's the truck?
Would you do this for us, Chad? And then I think, board, if you have any other questions, but you also may want to hear from some of the other folks that came here tonight. Tell the board your plan of action, if you have one going forward, to make sure we don't have another Saturday incident or another Tuesday, Wednesday incident.
I think now, Jose and I, we obviously are aware of the situation and rules, and we know what the expectation is going forward. I think Jose is gonna probably be more cautious before he gives his guys instructions. We all know employees do dumb stuff sometimes. And Pedro that day, he didn't think he was, obviously thought he was following the orders that he was given. Yeah, so, my plan of action is, I mean, obviously to keep going on our yard and stay off RPMUD property. You know, I have some photos here. You know, I know we've talked about ruts. I could have brought a lot more photos. We left a path, obviously we left a mark where we were operating trucks. A lot of that has already healed from the rain and sunshine that we've been getting. Obviously the biggest area of concern is the piece of property that's directly adjacent to my backyard that is basically down the dirt. It's level and graded and smooth and there's no ruts or anything, but I mean, I got some before and afters and just a short.
Okay, you see it, okay.
So, you know.
I just wanted for the record him to have an opportunity to show you whatever he wants.
the progress of the healing of the road.
Yeah, I was out there today.
You know, this is taken from two different angles, but this is the difference between Wednesday and today. I can show you, these are the same section of the cart path with the bin, just taken, one's taken from the north, one's taken from the south. I mean, that's how much improvement there's been. A lot of the weeds died, obviously, where we drove, and it turned yellow and
The grass
brown
is
and-
growing back in 6 days, that much?
Yes, ma'am. I had more photos. This photo was taken on,
It was hard to find today.
this photo was taken on this photo was taken on the 9th.
I can find it, but it was not.
These photos were taken from the 9th, where new growth, this is brand new growth, it was already popping up. I have photos from the Takis ruts.
Well, Takis is already,
Takis.
they're in the middle of
Yeah,
a
I'm just,
lawsuit. You don't want to go down the
No, I
Takis
don't,
road.
I don't, but they left a very similar road as I did, in
So
my
anybody
backyard.
that's been on that, we've gone to, they're in a lot of trouble as well. It's
Well,
not just
I'm
you,
gonna, at
it's
the end of our
anybody that's
meeting,
been
I'm
on
gonna
that.
make a request or a suggestion, for the board. You know, here's another spot where the Bermuda is already, we struggle in the summer heat. Bermuda does not. Bermuda likes it being hot and dry. I mean, so honestly, in a lot of the places where it is already green back up, the Bermuda is what's really thickening up. I mean, the weeds are coming back too, but in a lot of the areas, the Bermuda is
Saturday.
what
Saturday
is
night.
starting to grow and green up and thicken up. So, and like I said, I have photos of Takis's ruts, Takis. They were gone. I noticed them. I live on the park. I've lived there for 10 years. You know, I noticed them, and they were gone.
I'd like to see or have those photos of the Taggart truck if you don't mind.
Yeah, for our other case,
Yeah, they can find $225,000.
Yeah. So, yeah, here they are. They're not the best photos.
No, that's fine.
That's
And
okay.
That's them, and
I would love
if you go, I dated them,
Yeah, this
when the
is-
photos were
yeah.
taken. If you go back there, obviously, I've been all over number 3 Charlie. I've been all over it in the last week. You know, I've observed the mowers that were there Saturday. They left ruts. They left holes. I got a whole paper clip of photos that ruts the mowers have left from them. It's sandy soil, and the weeds are thin. So when they spin those 0 turns around, I mean, they dig holes in ruts. So
It's bumpy.
what else?
I would like to hear from the other
I think
people that would
that's
like to.
good.
Yeah.
You want to go down the list again and?
I'd like to make a comment, just
Okay.
when I've known Chad for at least 10 years, I'm his insurance agent, and when I saw all the work being done with the trees, I didn't know the damages were from the park, but I was glad because I'd have to pay a claim any trees on his house, the front and the back, so I was happy to see, as his homeowner's insurance agent,
Right.
that he was doing something spectacular. I've been in RP since '73,
Yeah.
homeowners since '76, so I know what's going on, and I was very happy to see all the work that he's doing to that house.
Yeah. And just so you know, we weren't targeting you.
Yeah,
Our tree guy is the one that called. He was back there because the tree behind you had gotten hit by lightning
yeah.
Monday. And he was back there because it went from the top to the bottom, a lightning strike and
Yeah.
killed the tree.
Yeah.
And so he called me and said, have you seen what's
So I saw the
happened
trees coming
to
down.
Charleston? And then Saturday, I know you think I was targeting your house. I was not even in the subdivision.
No, I knew.
Someone called
No.
me
Yeah.
and told me, and I happened to get back here from downtown Conroe before Pedro got to the street.
Yeah, no, I don't feel like we were targeted.
So-
I don't feel like we were targeted
Yeah, I don't
on
think
Saturday
that's what happened at all, yeah.
Yeah.
I think all of us
So-
thought it was over, to be honest. I was calling
Yeah.
my son's hockey game when I
Oh,
was.
me
Yeah.
too. I called Jose and I was like,
Yeah.
you couldn't have done anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The yard is dirt, you know what I mean? We're rebuilding back. You couldn't have done anything to get in trouble, you know?
But now, due to all of this, we have legal fees that we're incurring because of this, and we're, that's something that we're gonna have to pay for, because we've had to get him involved, and this is something that it has to come from somewhere for the legal fees.
And we had another one last week.
Insurance doesn't cover it.
I've heard
Yeah.
rumors.
Is there anybody else?
I would like to
Oh,
speak.
anyway.
So I'm new to the neighborhood, so
I know, I
I'm,
sat next to you guys Tuesday night.
yes, I'm now I'm going to be working on the maintenance division of River Plantation. I'm the director, right, of maintenance. So I love it here. Like, we came in and I love it. But I have seen, so on Chad's character and his family, you could not meet the more family-oriented people than the Morgans. Every day they're with their kids, every day. We've been there, so we're empty nesters, so I see where he's going through, and everything he does is for the family. Beside us, everybody knows, was a crack house,
Yeah.
and they dealt with that.
Uh-huh.
They
I don't
dealt
know
with
where
it
that
for
is.
years, where they had the auto theft
It's next door to
lien,
me.
The one
and
with the pool or the one on
the one with the
Pool.
pool. So that pool has been full, it's just a pond. And so when I see Chad, and we talk quite a bit, and I see what he has to deal with his kids that are young, and the pool pond that's beside him. And when he started doing that with the yard, he initially told me, man, I'm about to do a project, we're gonna put some fence up for safety of the kids, and it's gonna take me about a week. And I was like, oh yeah, man, awesome. And then we started seeing it, and I was like, wow, the value he's adding to his house, to the neighborhood, by all of us, because we've invested a lot of money into our house too, right here, that Josh has invested a lot into his house. And so our street is coming up, and so I didn't see anything wrong with what he did, because I'm new to the neighborhood. I saw a lot of activity in the back, so I didn't think it was a big deal myself. Now I know. Now I know it's called a park. I didn't even know it was called a park after a year of being
Well,
here.
you probably weren't
So,
here when we
yeah,
had
I
the
wasn't.
lawsuit
I do think
taken
we
down
should do that.
in.
Yeah, I wasn't.
I think so.
That's
Yes.
what I was gonna suggest.
But
Well,
yeah.
we actually talked about that at our last board meeting, because we don't like having these sessions. Does that make sense? No one wants to be here. So.
Yeah, but to me, he added a lot of value, and he's adding value to our neighborhood. And he did feel really bad about the park, and we talked about going and seeding it and doing something if we need to. And I'm sure all of us will pull together, and we can help him reseed that backyard. But it looks beautiful, the work that he's done. Unfortunately, it looked bad in the beginning with the dead weeds and the grass, but it is coming back. It does. If we keep getting a few more rains, you won't even know he was back there. And we'll help them seed that portion of it.
I insured that crack house. It was one of my
I
insurance.
agree with that.
Yes.
Anyone else?
I agree with that as well. My neighbor just said, I've lived here since 1970, and we've seen a lot of people come and go in this neighborhood, sadly, to hurricane after hurricane. And it's taken all of Brandon down, except for like 2 or 3 houses, and those people can't afford to live, you know. And Chad I met 10 years ago when my mom was clinging to her life. And he was very compassionate and has been a wonderful neighbor of mine ever since. The 3 people that were homeowners in his house were all great individuals, and he's another one. Unfortunately, those 3 people added a lot of plants, okay? And they kept on adding plants and adding plants and adding plants. And one of the things that Chad has mentioned to me is, man, I don't know if we can live here any longer because there's so many mosquitoes. And all those plants back there added to their mosquito issue. So that was one way of saying, okay, I want to live here and I want to improve the house, and this is a project that we need to do. And, you know, and what he was telling me is going to be great, because like they said, it adds value and I need to do something to mine, but I haven't been able to myself. But, you know, nature has a way of taking over land once again. And we're supposed to take care of God's country, okay? We can plant the seed, we can water it, okay? You're there to help us water, right? So we pay the water bill to get the water and all that, so we're gonna rebuild that area. I just wanna say that. I get a little emotional about something that can be taken care of. In this world, in this America, that you see that flag up there, we have so many more different and difficult problems that we need to solve, but we can solve this one.
Right. And I think some of us get emotional about it because we were here to fight to keep that a park and not have the 8-foot weeds and the 10-foot weeds.
And the
And we put in the
condominiums
time and
and
the
the
trouble and the
apartment
tears to make it a
complexes.
park.
and everything else that we didn't want in
Correct.
this.
Exactly.
That's correct. And when we were here fighting for that, to see it go back to, and I don't know, I'm not gonna say this is what happened, but this is the perception I had. I don't really care. I'm gonna do what I wanna do because my yard's more important than this park is to me. That was my perception.
Yeah, no, I mean, honestly, before I knew how serious the park was taken, I mean, I was gonna extend my sod well beyond my backyard, because it's adjacent to, I mean, when I finally convinced the HOA to let me build my fence where I wanna build it, I mean, the park's gonna be very visible from my kitchen, from my living room, from my breakfast room. I want the park to be as nice as my backyard, or as nice as it can be. Before kids for years, I mean, I fertilized, I treated that
Right.
section, even when it was a golf course, because there was so much shade back there. Even when it was a golf course, I treated that section, a lot of that section is dirt today. I treated that like it was my yard. Actually, my irrigation, my sprinkler heads couldn't spray through the shrubs because they were so thick. I literally adjusted them to water the golf course because they were serving no purpose for my yard.
That's what ours do.
We watered the golf course also.
Thank you.
So,
Thank you.
just to talk about it, like I said, I don't want to make my yard nice and then have this dirt, piece of property right outside of my backyard. I mean, my kids are out there, they play all the time. Dirt coming to the house is crazy bad right now. And I'm not raising my kids that way, my dad, like I mentioned, he lives in the neighborhood, his name's Ronnie Morgan. He's been here since I was a junior in high school. He raised me right, and I'm trying to raise my kids right. We spend 1 week in a month at these races and these private ranches. And my kids, I've established a rule for my kids that before we pick up the motor home and we drive off that piece of property, my kids, including any of their friends that are lingering around while we're packing up getting to go, they have a responsibility to walk around and pick up 10 pieces of trash, and not the trash at our camp, because the wind is gonna carry trash. I want them to go venture out and help, contribute back to this. So that's a rule that I've established maybe, 3 or 4 races ago. Just because I'm trying to instill in them, like, we leave things nicer than what they were when we found them. Like, that's the way. So obviously I got caught, so y'all wouldn't have seen what it would have looked like if I had never got caught, but it wouldn't have been left like dirt. And like my neighbors mentioned, if we need to throw seed down, if we need to put water down and just give it time for the natural growth to take place, or put seed or sod, I mean, it's only gonna benefit me. I mean, that's part of my backyard.
Right. Is anybody else?
Anyone else?
Yes.
I want to commend the board for how hard they worked on this thing. And I've lived here 45 years or so, when the board did not enforce the rules. Now, I applaud the Morgans for cleaning up the property, but, it's the first time that I've seen in a long, long time that the board has worked this hard and they've enforced the rules. And unfortunately, somebody gets hurt
They
in
got
this
caught.
thing. So, that's,
Yeah, we're spending a lot of money on, like you say, you wanted a value, you think the cleaning of the yard will have a value added to your home, in your street, in your yards. That's why we took over Charleston. we're spending a lot of money now mowing it, taking care of it.
And getting the irrigation back up.
We're
$1
working on the
million.
irrigation so we can irrigate it, so it'll look nice again. We want it to be a value added to the community, not just, because I don't even live near there, but I want it to look nice when my kids drive through here and see it, and other people, real estate people, you know, selling houses, the value added to our community. But that, if they were trying to look back there and see, you know, what's in there, it's wouldn't have been very much value added to that. I understand you're trying to clean it up now, and
No.
that, I do commend you for that.
We appreciate it too, you know, Julie, you and I, our first interaction wasn't great, you know, you were very upset. I tried to stay composed, but I got defensive, you know, as somebody coming at me, so I got defensive a little bit, which I think is a natural thing to do. But we love the neighborhood, I mean, the neighborhood looks great, the park looks great. When the park got taken over and I think John Schmidt had the first contract to start
He
mowing.
did.
When those weeds that were 6, 8 feet tall, it took years for we'll call them stumps.
Right.
To break off. I mean, I probably have videos of our kids riding their bike back there and hitting one of those stumps and getting flipped over. I get enjoyment out of it because they need to be taught to get back up and get back on the saddle and go. But I mean, it took years for those stumps to degrade away, and they're pretty much gone now. I mean, it's actually a park that we can go back there and enjoy. Now it's being mowed twice a month for summer. I mean, the neighborhood looks great, and it's not Charleston Golf Course anymore, but well, I'm not saying it's not the golf course anymore, but it's Charleston Park now, and it's great. I mean, we're fortunate to have that in our backyard, and not weeds, and not patio homes, and not, fortunately, we don't have a neighbor directly behind us, you know, so there's still a lot of positives for living on an old golf course lot on Charleston.
And you guys will be lucky, you won't have neighbors living behind you, as long as we have something to do with it.
Yeah.
Put you here.
Yep.
You know, I appreciate that he's trying to make it look better, and it does and all that, but my question is, what would possess anyone to think they could go 40 feet over their lot line, and that's okay, regardless of whether it's on a park or wherever? I mean, if you have a survey for your property, you know where your lot line is, so how did you mistake that? I mean, if it was a couple feet, you'd say, okay, fine, you know, you missed a couple feet, who cares? But we're talking 40 foot.
Yeah. Well, as I mentioned in the beginning, I honestly just didn't think that anybody really had that much interest in it.
Well, that's why
I couldn't have told you who to call to get permission before we started the project. I'm that ignorant to know.
I don't mean to hurt your feelings, but you've been here 10 years, you know that there's a board and a mud board, and it wouldn't occur to you to call
We got
anybody?
3 kids. I don't follow the CIA board. I don't follow the mud board. I get home, I take care of my family, I pay my bills. That's it. I'm sorry, I'm not engaged, you know. We're 35 years old. We got 3 young children that are 4, 6, and 8. They're very involved in competitive sports. We're not engaged with what's going on. All the information I got during the time was from John, because he was going to some of the meetings and he was relaying some of the information about a lawsuit here, a lawsuit there, this is what's going on, that's what's going on. I got some information from, you know, I talked to John Schmidt about it when he got the first contract to mow. I never asked who he was contracted under. I just did it. I did it. And it wasn't right for me to think that it was okay. I just honestly, you know, I didn't believe that it was something that was going to be that big of a deal. And this is a picture of the home that's next door to us. Just one picture of the pool. And the pool's been black for 6 years. It's been vacant for 2 years.
Have you told the CIA?
I insured that house
Yeah.
for 15 years.
It's been vacant for 2 years, I think.
And we just had squatters removed from the jobs
We had to deal with squatters living.
over and over again.
We had to deal with squatters living in the home for probably a year.
Yeah.
I actually came across a picture of my phone of the collision shop that the guy was running in the front yard.
Yeah.
It was
Can't- And I had to
horrendous.
cancel that
And-
policy. A couple of
And
people sell the house.
we've been saving our money.
Yeah,
This
and
project
they're
is
probably trash
4 years
cans.
overdue. and we've been saving up money, and we finally had the
The
funds.
bank took it over.
And we hit our breaking point. Springtime hit, it was time to be outside, baseball's coming to an end, dirt bikes are coming to an end, we're about to have a summer of a couple months with no sport activities, we're gonna be spending a lot more time at home. The mosquitoes are extreme in the backyard, not from necessarily just from the pool, but all the plants and shrubs that I took out were a huge contributing factor. And we honestly, we hit our tipping point, and she hit her tipping point. She's ready to move. She's ready to move, and we hit our breaking point. And I
It was
picked up
either
the phone.
moving or dealing, protecting our kids from what was next door.
I picked up the phone to start finding contractors to help me get the problem solved, and I wasn't looking backwards. I was only looking forwards, and I'm not saying that was right to, overlook contacting somebody to seek permission to use the park for access, but that's just how it happened. We hit a breaking point. Jose picked up the phone, he was available, and I said, let's go right now. And, we hit our breaking point.
Well, in my
opinion. Literally, 2 weeks ago, I had to call the constables because we had another set of squatters that tried to take over the home.
In my opinion, if a lot of the neighbors like yourself that have never gone to the MUD meetings, never paid attention to CIA, and don't keep yourself involved in what's going on and to know what's going on, if more people would come to the meetings and get accurate, the truth, information that could help you, rather than go to social media and say, well, what do you think I should have done? And people on social media are not going to be, they don't come to these meetings either. I don't think I've seen any, I saw them at
We're
the
starting.
CIA. Yeah.
We're starting. We're new. And we're gonna bring Chad with us now. Josh brought me, and I'm bringing Chad.
But had more people gone to these meetings and getting the truth, other than just speculation from somebody who evidently may have been charged for something, a violation or something, and they have an axe to grind against either the CIA or the MUD board. Come to the meetings and get involved, and, we're all volunteers. I mean, we're at these meetings too. We've got kids and family that we've got to go to, but we spend a lot of time investing. I love being on the board right now because I can see things happening. I know that front's going to look nice once we get the sprinklers going, and Charleston Park is going to really look nice. I love to see the kids out there playing and people, walking every day with their dogs. But both boards give a lot of information, and they really do try to help you the first time, with the right information.
Honestly, this is kind of eye-opening, coming to one of these meetings, so.
Well, Mr. Morgan,
we probably should be more.
Just so you know, in case you can't make the meeting, we have a camera back there and we record everything, and it's on Facebook and Nextdoor every month. Generally, it's a couple days after the meeting.
It's also on our website.
You can also join by teams too. It's on the meeting packet.
So we do try to make it as available as possible, so that you can, I can relate to you having a family and got a lot of things to do in the evenings. I understand that. So we do try to make it as available as we can to everybody in the neighborhood. So.
One thing I do is tell anybody that's working for you to read these signs that they had to drive by to get in your yard. It said, don't do it.
Yeah. Until Tuesday, I can say I've never noticed one of those signs.
I know, but
We
right there
on the
when they
luxury,
told
we
me-
live in the middle of the fairway. We live on the park. We don't have to run down the street to jump on a cart path.
It's the trucks that came in.
The mosquitoes are so bad at our house. I hide inside a lot. She gets frustrated because she likes being outside.
Yeah.
She tolerates the mosquitoes. I have zero tolerance for the mosquitoes, and they don't even really bother me. But I can't stand to be outside, and so.
I'm with you.
And
I have a private company come do my yard every month, every 3 weeks.
I have a system that I put in mine. Just
that's
I
why you
have-
consider the mosquito system.
I need that fence.
Goes
I
off
want the
twice a
fence.
day if it's a.
I want the fence, so I have something to zip tie those misters to, and I'm gonna have the misters, and I'm gonna sell Bob on the misters too. He's gonna get his yard covered too, because he's next door to me.
I actually
Next door.
live directly next door to
Right
it.
next door?
Okay.
Just keep
And
going
have
down the
lived-
street, right?
Yeah.
So I have lived there since '88, and I have played golf on that
What
golf
did they
course.
spray
The
at?
whole reason I moved to
What did
RP.
they spray at, mister?
But to me and my wife,
Honeybees and stuff too?
No.
it's been
It kills
great.
mosquitoes and sometimes
Because we can
flies.
see now down the fairway, both sides, but definitely from their house. To me, it was a wonderful thing to be able to see, because I have huge glass across all of my glass. You can see them in the boat, in the pictures, but it so opens all that up to a much, and to me, that was the reason I purchased that house, was basically the view.
Right.
So,
Sure.
Okay.
So I picture it, if you walk behind the old hickory, you'll have the walkway or the fairway, and you'll see a white house, and then you'll see the Bennett's house, and we mow and sprinkler all the way to the walkway. So that's how he's gonna be. Chad's house is gonna look really pretty and sprinkled and green,
We
as
live-
far out as you can go. So that's our house. We
Well, hopefully we'll
sprinkle
be sprinkling.
all the way. So that's good to know. That is really good to know. I didn't know that
Yeah.
that was gonna happen.
For the
Yeah,
record, we
we're
live
trying
in
to
the
get
nicest street
irrigation
in the
working.
neighborhood.
I think we did.
And I'm gonna do my part to
On
make
the
it better.
nicest street.
It is a
Yeah,
nice
if we can get rid of the squat hound
Yeah.
Yeah.
and the home at the end of the street that's owned by a gentleman who lives in Colorado, the street looks great right
In
now.
the circle?
Yeah.
In a circle.
And the cul-de-sac.
That had all those RVs and
He lives
boats
in
and
Colorado, he comes down
everything.
once a year for about 2 weeks and then he
I guess
goes
I
right
need
back
to go down
Colorado.
on
It's
It's
all
cul-de-sac.
At the end of the cul-de-sac.
There's a bunch of
They live in
Well,
Denver.
he at least got rid of all the boats and the RVs and he had
Old Hickory.
Oh, that's
stuff that
good.
was
Down the
flooded.
cul-de-sac, right at the
It was
end.
very
awful.
end of it.
Are y'all?
All right, does anybody else,
Yeah.
does
Oh,
anybody
when you
else
go
have
away
anything they
and
want to say?
You've got the little,
Yeah.
which house is
We're
it?
good.
The one
There's-
that's-
I think you
There's
can,
always trees and trash.
recess into executive
Okay.
session whenever the board is ready.
All right, we're gonna go into executive session and discuss the matter before us, and we will come back out when we're finished, and you're more than welcome to wait to hear what the results are, or, like we said, it'll be posted tomorrow, or whatever you wanna do. So, but you will have to go,
Yeah,
like,
we
out in
do
your
have to have
cars,
the room
or
to ourselves.
unfortunately, out in the mosquitoes.
So you can't be worse than my.
How are you? Good to see you. Good seeing you.
Yeah.
Just, if anybody's gonna wait, let me know, so we make sure we come out and get you.
No, okay.
We are recording.
That's what we need to.
All right, we are back in session at,
We could wait till they come in though.
yeah, 9:36. We're just waiting for them to,
What we need is a light out there with the switch in here.
just, you know.
Or dark smoke and white smoke, like the Pope.
Yes.
Something like
PTO
you
or
say.
not.
Okay.
Are they coming?
Yes,
Yeah, they're coming, I hear them.
And so now that I'm doing myself, I'm aware.
Everybody.
Okay,
Back in.
yep,
back
back in
business?
session, 9:36. Go ahead.
Okay. I make a motion that we assess a joint penalty for both parties of $10,000 total fines, which we would agree to reduce to $5,000 if paid within 45 days.
We need a
I
second.
second that. I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
One, gonna say nay,
Four yeses.
and one nay.
Okay, any discussion or anything we want, okay. Then you just would adjourn the meeting.
Okay, meeting adjourned at,
We have the motion and.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion, we adjourn the meeting.
got a second?
A second.
Okay. Meeting adjourned at 9:37 PM.
That's a lot
All
of
right,
money.
yes, so, yeah, and we can't, since the meeting's over the board, you cannot conduct official business, but doesn't mean you can't talk a little bit, whatever, just, no one can conduct business.
You want me to leave you on, Davis, or?
No, the meeting's over, that's
Okay.
not necessary.
Okay,
Good night.
okay,
Thank you,
thanks.
Dennis.
No problem.
Camera.
Yeah, please.
Oh, that's all.
I don't, obviously, if y'all wanna sit around and talk about that a little bit, that's fine, but we just can't have them